there's lots of goodness in level 3. I had a feeling I might spend more time on level 1. So level 3, we're still learning to read, and we're doing the sort of second half of the Storytime Treasures, but then we add our first literature guide. So we start the year with first start reading E, which are those long vowels, and like night and tight and words like that, pie and night and sight. They start teaching you the color coding in this level. You know, O and OE. We add these readers to start the year, and then we move on to our first, actually there's a bridge between this book and the Storytime Treasures, Wagon Wheels, where there's a set of comprehension questions in this guide that gets you through that book. Math we have completed Rod and Staff 1, and we have moved to Rod and Staff 2. Once again, if you are just doing the workbook, it doesn't do the program justice. I will fully admit that when I first started, we did not use the teacher's manual, and I switched to a different math program thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I switched. None of this stuff was in this Rod and Staff. And then guess what? I opened the teacher's manual and there was all the stuff that the other program had, and I didn't need to spend any more money. And my child actually really responds really well. The bite-sized pieces, the way it's broken up, the repetition, it's exactly what she has needed. So we're not going back to any other math program. It really works really well for us. But they do call for some visual aids in this level. And so they want these really big blossom charts. And I did not want to make those. And for the first 20 lessons or 40 lessons, they talk about a boat poster. And sorry, I've got my question and answer in the way here. I actually put little Velcro dots on here, and then the little boats are reduced at about 60% from the teacher's manual. And then I did not color them. I just photocopied them onto orange, because you're supposed to have 2 different colors because you're trying to do the whole and the part. And so some of the other programs that teach that the whole to the part a little bit, that they call that subitizing, I think. This is teaching that very same thing. And so you've got your whole is 7 and your parts are 1 and 6. So 1 plus 6 is 7, 7 minus 6 is 1, etc. And you go through with these little boats. I did specifically put the dividing line down so that there's 5 on each side to help with that 5 part. Then they also ask you to make these bee and blossom, because you're going to start memorizing a triplicate. So you'll say 7 and 7, 14, 6 and 8, 14, 9, 5, 14. And as the year, I also put Velcro dots on these. And the reason I did that is, especially once we get to Math 3, I actually give my children all the charts and I pull all the bees off and I have them sort the facts onto the little mats. I just printed the green cardstock, printed this on pink, so I didn't have to do any coloring. And I did really find that very helpful. It all fits in this, regular size binder, so I can just pull it out when we're doing math. If you want to teach multiplication, actually that would be in level 4, so I'll hold off on the keys. They also call for these blossoms, and I did not make a background for those. I just made the little blossoms, and that's what I did, color them with marker and laminate them. And so you've got some with bees and some without bees. I don't have enough time right now to read the instructions, but this is when they're asking about making these little clovers. That's what these are. And I just, again, if you go to Memoria Press, the Simply Classical forum page, there is a whole, I think it's like most used topics or something on the forum, all these printouts are there. So you can just print them yourself at home and not have to make them yourself. In this level, we introduce, you're going to do the cursive book 2, but then we also add my Thankfulness Journal, and I really appreciate these. It gets scheduled on, starts second semester, and it gets scheduled on alternate days from the New American Cursive. And every day it gives you a prompt. Dear God, thank you for the blessing of this day. And they're supposed to list 5 things that they're thankful for. I try to make sure that at least the last few days we don't say the same thing, but sometimes I can't be too picky about that. This particular spelling book was actually one of my favorite spelling books. It really taught me a lot about teaching spelling, but I also used a lot of what was taught in this spelling book when we started Latin. So that's also one of the benefits of taking all the levels from the beginning, is seeing the progression and being able to use skills that maybe you use to teach a different subject in new ways in Latin or something like that. So they have you, I think I started the color coding after we came out with the traditional spelling. I don't think this is actually, I don't think that's in the instructions, but there are very specific instructions at the beginning of this book, and it tells you, so I did take some time and highlighted what you're supposed to do, and it tells you exactly what to do on each day. So day 1, memorize Monday. Day 2, tracing Tuesday. So she actually suggests using a yellow tip marker, but I think because I knew about the traditional spelling one, I did start with the blue and red. That was just a personal choice. And then day 3, we have our word study and write high Wednesday. Day 4, Thursday quiz day, and day 5, Friday dictation. The words do start to get harder as we move along, and then we do increase the words to know. And from our last, I think we had 5 words, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words plus your words to know. And there's a cumulative, every week there are dictations, and they're at the back of the book, it'll tell you the day that you're supposed to do the dictation. We introduce states and capitals in this book. It's all oral. They'll tell you to, in the enrichment, play stay and say with your US map. You'll toss a ball and say, maybe the 5 capitals that you've worked on. And so the enrichment, we do a review of the kindergarten, first and second grade art cards. So in SC1, you use kindergarten and first grade art cards. And in SC2, you use the second grade art cards. And then in SC3, they review all 3 of them. They tell you every week what music to do. You start your states and capitals. And the science, this is the level that has, and I'm afraid I don't have it downstairs. It has its own little enrichment book, just like in the regular Memoria Press, and it ties to all of the American history readers. They're, a stack of 33 books that are listed in your guide. It tells you, again, what books. Actually, you know what? I think it's actually in the enrichment guide, but it'll tell you what weeks or what books and what science topic relates to that, so that you can easily get your books in time for what you need. And what did I do with okay. Just like in level 2 and level 3, there are 2 writing books. There's a Bible book, and in this level, it uses the Bible from SC1. So we revisit this Bible. And again, with older children in this level, you might want to do the read alouds, because they tie to the American history read alouds, which are at a little bit of a higher level. So for older children who need some specific writing help, that's something that you could pull out and use on its own. But this one, the book It looks a little different than last time, and each week really does build upon one another. And as you get further into the year, we get some different lessons in writing. Let's see if I've covered everything because we are running out of time. Let me just make sure I got everything. We do use the flashcards again from last level in this one, and copybook. Oh, there is a copybook cursive that's used in this level as well for the Bible lesson. So we have about 4 minutes left for a couple questions.
Yeah, so something specifically in regards to level 3. Timothy says, in spelling 2, my son had trouble with retention of the previous week's words, even when he had mastered them the week before. How would you suggest working in more spelling review week to week to help build spelling retention? Should I just do the same lesson 2 weeks in a row?
That might be necessary, or you can add something like the letter, the beads that we were using for phonics. You could have them do that. You could have them, is the child orally saying them? So like when there's something called the C method. So you would, if we're going to spell, they would say the word spell, they would spell SPELL, and then they would say spell again. So if you haven't done that, I would add that. I'd add some more tactile things. And then you can also, when you're make word cards for them and find the ones that he's having a hard time with and dictate maybe 3 or 4 every day to keep that review going on. Because I was having the same problem. Once we added those few things, we were able to work through that a little bit more. So if that doesn't work, then you might need to spend 2 weeks on the lesson.
Sonia said she's new to MP this year and did not have phonics growing up. She has one child in level C, one in level 2, and then a 4th grader. She's starting all of them with the classical phonics book together, and she's just trying to understand how to start teaching phonics. She says, I guess I look at the page in the book and just don't know how to present it to my kids. Can you demonstrate a lesson and how to use that book? I feel like I'm overthinking it.
What level specifically are you using?
She said level C, level 2, and a 4th grader.
I mean, there's in the lesson plans, it'll specifically say a page. And so I don't know that you could really combine them because each thing is a particular you're like learning the ank words or the ink words, and if the younger child is still on CVC words, you wouldn't really be able to combine them. But when you are using it, if they tell you to do 48, you would just go down and you would remind the child that A and K says ank, and then they read bank, rank, sank, tank. And then what does I and K say? It says ink. Okay, good. Now what do these say? Ink, link, sink, mink, pink, wink. And they just go through, and it's kind of an oral drill is what this book is for. This book doesn't teach phonics. This book is more of a supplement, and it helps reinforce and is more like an oral drill. The teaching of the phonics comes in the First Start Reading book or in the curriculum guide. That's where the teaching of the phonics comes. This doesn't really, you need the other supplemental part to help make this part work.